Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and KISMA. I'm KISMA, and today's episode is what to do when you finally have some space. Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and KISMA, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set.
Hey, Nick, what's going on?
That was very unexpected.
It was an epic introduction.
Yeah, there was some musical
alien music
quality.
This is what happens when I finally have space. I get like really weird.
We should really release some of the outtakes from these.
I think you deleted them.
I deleted the last one, but I kept with the first one.
Oh gosh. So space. We look for space. Frontier. We want space. And then we finally make the decision to take space. But as you so eloquently talked about one of your mystic messages, which I highly encourage everyone to sign up for these mystic messages, and I'm not sure how they do that.
You just go to my homepage, nickhansinger.com. Yeah. You can go directly to the blog, right? Just /blog. And that's my blog. And you can... there's an opt-in there. So you get the messages.
So they're weekly messages.
Yeah, they go out on Mondays. Like, I'd really like to write more of them, but I'm not there just yet.
Let's corral it back into the theme.
Well, anyway, there's like 100 of them. Yeah. I've written over 100 now.
They're great on the website. Find them. But you sent a really great email about what happens when we finally have space. So I'm going to hand it over to you because I think there's some things that are incredibly relevant.
Well, this is something I definitely noticed with myself, is you get that empty space and there's usually like a sigh of relief.
Yeah. Like,
man, maybe something got canceled or, a meeting got canceled or something shifted and it's like, oh, now I don't have to do that thing. And man, it's like a sigh of relief for a second, but immediately the mind is like, well, what am I going to fill it with?
I don't even know that the mind I feel like it's sort of this subconscious you start just filling.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Because there's a nervousness, like there's space. What am I going to do? And then at least if I'm not grounded or anchored, I'll just start all of a sudden floating around the house and walking outside and picking a plum and coming back in and just like things that don't need to happen right then and there. And before you know it, an hour's gone.
Right. Yeah. You pick up your phone and you start scrolling.
Oh, that's the worst, man. Do not do that when you're taking space.
Yeah. It's not taking space. Or a game, like there's games, pick up a book, which none of them in and of themselves are necessarily bad things.
Right.
Right. So you pick up a book, like it's awesome to read.
Play a game, scroll your phone, whatever.
Like there's value in all of those things. But none of those things are taking space.
So describe what is taking space.
Well, I mean, to me, in the truest sense of it, taking space is like, I'm just not going to do anything.
I'm just going to be with myself.
I'm just going to like sit
and
like
be
a
with
maniac,
myself.
and just like
be with my feelings.
Just be myself.
My thoughts, my body, my energy. That can be incredibly uncomfortable for people.
It's really a weird experience, I think, a lot, and how I put it in the message, is like pure perception.
Right.
Okay. So it's not really like a meditation. Because oftentimes in meditation, there's like a mental something that's going on there.
Or you're chanting the mantra Om or something in the real meditation. But
or maybe you're trying to...
listening to a guided meditation.
You're listening to a guided meditation, which is doing something. Or you're like, even if you're just, in your own space, it's like you're constantly kind of redirecting your thoughts to a certain, emptiness or quietude or something like that. And doing nothing is literally just doing nothing, right? It's totally undirected. You just sit there and when you take out the thought, when you take out the emotion, when you take out, you just let those things be and sort of drift below the surface of that, you're in a more pure perception.
Right. Pure perception. I love that.
You feel what you're feeling, you notice what you're noticing. And it's just that's it. You're just going to sit there and be yourself and watch your amazing human just do whatever it does. It's actually not that easy to do.
No. We're so used to being distracted.
Yes.
And then there's a feeling well, I should be doing something. So I'm taking space, but I'll read this book or I'll devour this book or something. But man, just being with ourselves. And it's interesting because we're the ones, between our ears, we are with ourselves 24/7. We are with ourselves more than any other human. Yet to just be and have that space can feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Uneasy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you think about it in a relationship, and there's part of that relationship, obviously, is communication. It's talking to one another. And you kind of have to do that with yourself. You have to a good relationship within yourself is knowing how to have a conversation with the different parts of yourself, to keep everybody in line, keep everybody happy. But then another really beautiful part of a relationship is just being in quietude together.
Observing.
Yeah. And sometimes that can be really uncomfortable, especially at first, if you're I don't know when we were first hanging out, I think we were pretty comfortable with that.
Can we not go there? This is a podcast. Can we come back to the topic?
We can, but I'm just saying when you're with other people, right? There's a tendency to fill the space, right? Nobody's talking. There's awkward silence, right? Somebody's got to say something. And I was just saying if you're, especially if you're dating somebody or something like that, it's in a relationship.
Well, I prefer quiet, me.
I know. Yeah. So it kind of that part of it came kind of naturally, but a lot of times it's whew, man, you kind of awkward.
Yeah. Do you have to say, do you have to speak, whatever. So what about some practices, some tips, some tools for people to just be? Where do they start?
It's a little hard to instruct because it's the opposite of doing anything.
Right.
You have to actually make a decision to just do nothing.
What would one possibly feel, or what can they expect when they enter this decision of, I'm just going to sit and be for 5 minutes a day?
Well, that's a really interesting question because I think it could be really, really, I know in myself, I have really different experiences of that. Sometimes it's really relaxing and just kind of
getting cosmic.
Yeah. And then other times you have some really deep insights from that space, and other times you kind of just feels like a sigh of relief, So I can't really say, but all I can say is you got to try it. Just try it for yourself.
Let me ask that question again. What can they expect to come up in terms of resistance? And then what would one do to get beyond that resistance? Because I think there might be resistance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm 100% sure that there will be resistance of some form. And so the things that you look for is just and it's really fascinating to watch, how quickly do you reach for your phone?
Oh, man, that stinking phone.
How quickly do you reach for a to-do list or something because you got to write it down? How quickly does your mind start to wind into some kind of thing that it's trying to solve or fix or something like that? How just watch, you get to just watch your mind at work,
right?
And it's really interesting. It seems kind of lazy, I guess,
right.
You're just going to, what are you just doing nothing,
Yeah, exactly.
Lazy. But it's not like that.
Well, I think when one takes space and you're able to just be, that's when the intuition starts to come in. There's quietude, and it might take some practice, or it might just happen automatically for people. It's I'm just going to make that decision. I'm just going to be. But without the noise, without leaning in and having to do something, you're going to feel the connection that is there anyways with your intuitive channel, with your spiritual channel. It's just there is that space and depth for you to start to hear, or start to know, or start to receive. So I think at that point, it's really important to perhaps lean in. If somebody's getting an intuitive hit, if they're getting some guidance, just lean into it a little bit.
Yeah, don't avoid it for sure. And don't make it wrong that that's happening and be like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing nothing. You know, you just kind of, I think about it just like, you just like let
being
it.
guided, just let it unfold.
Just let it happen, you know? Like you said leaning in, you know, I think of it more of just like, well, I'm just going to be with that.
I'm going to be with.
Yeah.
It's a good place. So ultimately, taking space can provide wisdom.
The question I posed in the message, and I think it's worth considering, it is, well, what if the empty space isn't empty at all?
That's amazing.
Like what might we find there?
Oh, if that doesn't inspire you all to go take some space, I don't know what will.
You know, it's exhausting. Like when you're going from device to device and you're going from thing to thing and meeting to meeting, and it's like there's no space, and it really is draining. And I think when people get drained, they want to check out.
And fatigue happens.
Right. But how they check out is they pick up something to just check out with.
Right.
That's where like a game or okay, I'm just going to get lost in a book for a while or something. But but what's happening is you're absorbed in all these other things. You're tired of dealing with all those other things. And so you want to get absorbed with something else so that those things can go away. And if you just sit in the space, you're like, those things are they're going to have to find a more natural way out.
Yeah.
And that's actually like a healthy thing to do. That's a really healthy thing to do.
Yeah.
Because otherwise what happens is all of that gets suppressed.
Right.
So whatever the stress was that you were carrying with you from all the other things that you're trying to just distract yourself from, that stuff it's not fixing anything. It's actually just piling more on it. So it's just suppressing it and packing it deeper into your system, into your energetics, and actually into your physiology. So it's a little bit of a problem.
The central nervous system will take a hit.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Like it really will. It won't have the opportunity to reset the way that it can, and it'll get fatigued, you know?
So before we sign off, choice decision to take the space. Is there a certain time of day that you recommend?
No, anytime.
Anytime.
Because it doesn't have to be a lot. Like 5 minutes can seem like an eternity.
So perhaps it would be like the Taking Space Challenge, 5 minutes a day.
Yeah. Anytime, anywhere. Like you can just sit on a park bench and just be. You can be that weirdo who's just sitting there looking at the trees. I think
back in the day, that's what people did. Out there, like we're on our phones and we're eating, we're doing all sorts of crazy things.
Yeah, you see people. It's like I always crack up at that meme whenever it floats through my feed. You know, it's like I was in a coffee shop and I saw this guy sitting there just drinking a cup of coffee like a maniac. like people don't do that. You know, they don't just go somewhere and just drink a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
You know, we're just so used to it. And I think I really do think there's an art of doing nothing. And
art of doing nothing.
I can't say I'm very good at it yet.
Well, we're going to try. I'm going to try. I'm going to do more.
I'm working at it though.
Yeah.
And I think it's a worthy effort because every time I do it, I feel kind of better.
Kind of renewed, right? Rejuvenated.
Yeah. It speaks to, not to go off on a big tangent here, but it really speaks to the rajasic nature.
Oh yeah.
Of the mass amount of people. Like rajasic in Sanskrit terms, like rajasic is one of the gunas. It's one of the natures or qualities. And rajasic is like fire. You know, it's just like burning, going. Yeah. It's like there's a they say in the philosophy, they'll say like there's a fever to it.
Yeah.
Right. And like that's, I don't know about you, but that's a lot of my life.
Yeah.
But I used to be a lot more tamasic. And tamasic is really like the word Swamiji uses, which I guess was accurate, you know, is like indolent, you know, like you're just lazy. There's a laziness about it. So there's the laziness of like, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. Right. And just like, you've seen people like that, like that are truly lazy and they'll do that for hours on end. And it's like, Like, you must have something to do. But then there's the people like, I think who our listeners are, who have this like really rajasic life and this rajasic tendency that burns them out.
Yeah.
It really adds up and takes a toll on the nervous system. Like you said, it takes a toll on our bodies and our brains. And just like a little dose of just sitting and doing nothing, it really tends to start to take that off. It works itself out in a natural way. And then you can come back to that place of, how do I say, it's a subtle thing. Like it's a little hard to express, but it's kind of like coming back to a place that's like a little more naturally you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. And then you're in the sattvic place, the peace.
Yeah. So
5 minutes a day, doesn't matter what time, everyone. Just sit and be with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Try it in the middle of the day.
Yeah. I bet there'll be a renewed energy for the rest of the day.
Try, you can try it in the morning. Like that might be a little easier to start. Like, okay. And don't meditate.
Don't meditate.
Just you're not meditating.
Don't go to God. Let God come to you.
Yeah. Oh, dang. KISMA mic drop right there. Yeah. I like that. You're not meditating. You're not reading or studying. You're not contemplating. It's like none of it's really, I mean, what I like, just do nothing.
Interesting.
Yeah. You'll probably encounter the paradox that, and it's impossible to do nothing, but try your best.
Try your best. Observe. I feel like there's an observation of self there.
There's something magical will happen. And I have no idea what that will be for you, but you get to explore that and have fun with it and just see what happens.
Love it.
Right?
I love it. All right, everyone, go take space, because in that space, there might be
everything.
Love it. Until next time, namaste.
Namaste.
Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.